Hi YouTube land, it's Nicole, and I wanted to make a vlog tonight about Sadie sleeping in her big girl bed tonight. I was gonna wait till the morning because it is very late and it's very dark, and I want to keep it quiet and dark because I just don't want anything to wake up Sadie, because then it would be the whole process over again. But I wanted to just vlog about it because I want to remember how tonight went down, and also I figure maybe there are some other moms out there that are transitioning their kids, and it's one of those things where you like to know how other people go about it. So I'm going to share our story. Number one was we really just wanted to keep the routine before bedtime as normal as possible, and so we did everything that we normally do. She got her medicine, she got her diaper changed, we adjusted her arm, we brushed her teeth and climbed into bed. We said a prayer and kissed her goodnight and walked out. And that did not last very long. Normally she'll just put herself to bed, or she'll cry for a couple seconds and then she'll go to bed. But tonight, just that freedom of being able to get out of her own bed and not real, I don't think she really understood whether, even though we did our nighttime routine, I'm not sure if she thought that maybe it was playtime because she could get up, or I don't know, but she was kind of pushing it. She was testing things, which I expected. So I kind of gave her a couple minutes to take in the situation. And I was like, well, I could let it go, and for all we know, she could end up sleeping in front of the door. I don't know, but I really just, there's times when I think crying it out is appropriate, and at this point, I didn't think crying it out was an appropriate choice for us. I really wanted her to know that even though her crib was not the same as it used to be, it was still a safe place, and it was still her bed, and all that. So I went back into her room with her, and I tucked her in again, and I said good night, you know, it's night time. And I went and sat down. She was kind of crying this whole time, and I went and sat down in the middle of the room, and I just kind of put my head down, and I kind of made myself an object rather than a person sitting there. And I sat there and I just said a prayer in my head. I was like, oh Lord, just, I know I'm up for a challenge tonight. Just please guide me in knowing where I need to be firm, where I need to be soft, where I need to be, you know, I don't want to be like a mean, iron-fisted mom. I don't want to scar her or scare her. But I want to instill confidence in her. And if I'm wishy-washy, then that means that I'm not confident. And if I'm not confident, then she's not going to be confident. So, so I just prayed, and then I was like, all right, we're in this for the duration. So, pretty much as soon as I sat down, she got out of bed, and I picked her up and I said good night, and I took her back to the bed, and I laid her back down, and I went right back to my spot and made myself an object again. And then we did this several times, and I the third time I didn't say a word to her. I didn't even make eye contact with her or nothing. I just picked her up, put her back in her bed, and we did this several times. And eventually it got to the point where she was staying in her bed for a couple more seconds, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna count. And so I started counting how long she stayed in the bed, and one time it was 30 seconds, and she got out of bed, and then one time it was like 60 seconds, and then one time it was like 120 seconds, and it just kept getting better and better. And then meanwhile, she's still crying. And I'm like, oh, Lord, just please, you know, please help her, you know, please comfort her. And so I put her back in her bed, and she kind of calmed down. She took a couple deep breaths and stopped crying. And I don't know if she was listening for something. I think something fell out in the living room or something. The cat was doing something, and she wanted to listen to what was happening. And she stopped crying. and she just took a couple deep breaths and covered herself up with her blanket, and she started wiggling her legs, kind of like in one of those motions like you would use to make a snow angel. And I was like, okay, you know, I feel like this is her way of soothing herself. This is her way of calming herself down. And so I was counting in my head, but at the same time I was also trying to plan my escape. But while I was sitting there, I was just so amazed at her. And I know it's just a normal moment. It's just her going to bed, and she goes to bed every night, obviously. But I've never been able to watch her fall asleep. Ever since she was like 6 months old, she's gone to bed at night, and I put her in her crib, pretty much awake, and then I would leave and she would put herself to sleep. So I've never really watched herself soothe herself to sleep, and so this was a new experience for me. And it was just really interesting because I feel like the way that she was moving her legs and the way that she was rolling around, I was like, that is so what I do every night to try and fall asleep. And it was just a sweet moment, and she didn't know I was there, and she kept talking to herself, and it was just so sweet, you guys. It was so sweet. And something that I always want to remember is just who she is whenever no one's looking, or whenever she perceives that no one's looking. It was so just raw and beautiful, and I really loved it. But that being said, I was still counting, and at about 8 minutes and 10 seconds, I was like, for sure, 810 seconds, 810 seconds, so it was over 10 minutes. And I knew, because she kept rolling around and she was still kind of talking to herself, I knew that even though she was staying in her bed, she was not asleep. And if I went outside of the bedroom, she would wake up instantly, and we would be back to the beginning. And so I was kind of like waiting, and at 810 seconds, she sits up right up in her bed, like it's middle of the day, and starts talking to me. Even though I'm sitting there and I'm just a dark object with my head down, she just starts talking to me. And I like didn't say anything, didn't move, nothing. And she came and she sat right in front of me, and she sat crisscross applesauce just like me, and she looked me like just straight where my face was. She was like, do 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 do, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I like started like internally laughing, and I was like, I can't laugh out loud. This is just crazy. So I picked her up and I put her back in her bed, and I sat back down, and this happened a couple of times. And then she stayed in her bed, and she like dropped her pillow off the side of her bed and picked it back up again, because normally if she was in her crib, if she dumped something out of her bed, she couldn't pick it back up. And so she dumped her pillow off and picked it up, dumped it off, picked it up, and then she got out of bed again, and she just started being kind of silly. And so at this point she was calm, but she just had so much freedom, and I don't know if she was really getting the picture. So I think she thought by me being there, it was like permission for her to be awake. So I put her back in her bed, and I said one final time, I said, Sadie, it's time to go to sleep. Mama, I love you. And I walked out, and I closed the door, and she started crying. But this time when she was crying, it was more of the bedtime cry. It was more like, I know that I'm gonna go to bed. I don't want to go to bed. I like being awake. But it was kind of like just that bedtime cry, the tired cry. And she cried for about 2 minutes, and it's been quiet ever since. So I'm scared to open the door and peek in because I don't want to wake her up. But it was just such a special night, and who knows if it'll stick. Who knows, you know, how tomorrow night will go. I don't know. I mean, I want to say that I'm committed to it and everything, but I'm also open to discussion on whether she's ready or not. So we'll just see how it goes. We'll see how the morning goes. We'll see how nap time goes, and I'll keep you guys updated for sure. But I'm really sorry that this is like a super, super long vlog. I try to make it as short as possible, but I just can't seem to make short videos. So yeah, anywho, if you're not a subscriber and you came across this video by chance, hi, it's nice to meet you, and I would love for you to follow our family's journey. So you can go ahead and click subscribe up in the corner, and I will see you guys for my next vlog or video. Bye guys, good night.